God's like, no. He's trying to turn them away from their foolishness.
Yeah.
You know? So when there's things, if God does let things happen on the earth, it's because he's trying to get your attention and say, look, you're not God, you've not got the wisdom, and you're being foolish. You know?
Yeah.
You know, I heard a man speaking, and he was talking about, today, he's a rabbi, and he was talking about, and he said, today's world, he says, when you see all that's happening in the world, he says, you see the chaos. There's the black lives, there's this, there's that, there's this crowd shouting about this, that. And everybody has no rule in their life. You know what I mean? There's no moral compass.
Yeah.
Because everybody's saying, we can do what we like, I can live as I like, I can do what I please, I do this, you do that. Everybody's got freedom to do what they want.
Yeah.
But in that, saying that you've got freedom, there's chaos.
Yeah.
Because man loses what's right and what's wrong. You see?
Yeah.
And so he said, this rabbi, he said, this is what's happening today. He says, God's law gave man a moral compass to say, that's right and this is wrong. And if you follow my moral compass, God's saying, you'll stay right.
Yeah.
I'm telling you there's right and wrong. But when there's no, people go, there's no God, there's no this, I can do my thing, I can do this, I can do that. Then we see chaos in the world. Because nobody has a moral compass. And he says, this is why he says, Jesus said he was going to come back. He said, because there's going to come a day where it gets to a point, it'll build up and build up and build up, where there's more chaos, and nobody's knows. They think wrong's right and right's wrong. That's the way man goes. Because people think, I can do what I like, I want to do this, I don't, and who are you to say I can't do that or this? And nobody, So this is why God is saying that isn't going to go on forever and an end, because the world would just get to a place where, So that's the whole reason God is, but he gives people chances, Paul. He gives the world chances to say, come back to God, come back to worshipping me, come back to reading your Bible and seeing how God's laid things out and how God's made. God said when he made the earth at the beginning, it was perfect, it was good. He made man to live in the earth. He made man to take care of the earth. And they're up on about the climate change and all these things. And okay, we'll maybe have damaged certain things in the world with the climate, but we're no gods to fix it. Yeah. They act like we're gods and we'll fix it. We'll do it all. Oh yes, we'll fix it all. They can't fix anything. They can't even fix their own personal lives.
Oh no.
That's the problem. So this is, when you read the Bible, God keeps saying, I'm giving them chances, I'm giving them chances, I give them chances, I give them chances. And man goes from bad to worse, bad to worse, bad to worse.
That's man for you, innit?
But you know what the reason is? It's like God says, man's got sin in our heart, Paul. See, the minute we're born, we've got sin from the day we're born. Because nobody teaches them to tell a lie.
No.
You don't teach me for a wee tiny-year-old, do you know how to lie? I'll teach you how to do that. Nobody teaches a child to lie. The first thing you say to a child, did you do that? No. And they did do it. The first thing they swing at their mouth is, I didn't do it. And of course they did. There's their first lie. See, God knew we've got sin, and sin corrupts us, and it corrupts us, and it corrupts us. That's why there's all the corruption in the world today. Telling paedophiles, that's corruption. Telling folk that they can, and we've got to the stage where people now are letting their children change genders, which is more corruption. It's going further and further and further, and God's like, no, this is not what I created. This is not what I want. This is the whole thing, Paul.
Oh, I know.
And it's your generation. See, your generation. This is a generation that it's got to the part where nothing's taught in school anymore about the Bible. Nothing's taught in school about God. Nobody's interested. That was what Noah's day was. See, that's why the flood came.
Yeah.
And it said in the Bible, when the Lord returns, it'll be just the same as it was in Noah's day. Noah would tell people about God, and they wouldn't believe him. And they said, why are you building that big boat? They'd never seen a flood before. They never knew what flood was. Because back in those days, they didn't have rain come from the sky. The way God, at the beginning, when God created the earth, it was dew that came out the ground, the watered the plants. They never had seen rain fall from the sky. Did you know that? So when God brought the flood, they didn't know what this was coming out the sky. And then God opened floodgates under the earth and it made the whole... But God, Noah preached to people and said, there's going to be a flood, and they never believed him. No. You're talking about rubbish. You're all an idiot. You're a fool. And then it said, God put Noah and his family in the ark, and God shut the door of the ark. And all the people that were outside the ark, what's this happening? And the flood came up and up and up till they were all drowned. And it only saved Noah and his family because Noah was a righteous man. So we are all descendants of Noah. All of the people in the world today are descendants of Noah. We don't need to look back on ancestry because we already know. But it's the same in the world today. You tell the world, Jesus is coming back again one day. God's not existing anymore. So it's just exactly as the days of Noah. Nobody wants to hear. Until something happens to them all. You know? This is why, Paul, you need to know the Lord in your life. And see now that we've come to this point in history, nothing's going to be the same. I don't think God's not causing all things. Man's causing things too. But God will allow things to go to place. But he's not going to, his patience is only, he's long-suffering, God, with people. He's long-suffering. But he's not going to be fully long-suffering for an eternity with people. Because it talks at the very end of the Bible, it talks about the Lord making a new heaven and a new earth. That's what he's talking about. And it says in the Bible, you know what he's going to do? He says it's like God, he'll take the heavens and he'll roll them up like a scroll. Like a scroll. Can you imagine? We can't imagine that in our mind. Like the heavens and the earth and just all rolls up like a scroll. Like we've been, if you think about the Bible from the day of Adam and Revelation, it's a whole book. God has a thing with the book from the beginning of the world to when it's going to, he's stopping it coming, of man's history. Right? Yeah. They always talk about the end of the world. It's going to be the end of the world. But God said, for man's history, it'll come to a point where it'll come to a point of ending.
Yeah.
Because he can't allow man to carry on unless he does something about it all,
Yeah.
So in this Bible, if we read the Bible, we're in the Bible somewhere because we're into that book of history.
Right.
Our generation.
Yeah.
We're not maybe personally mentioned, but our generation is in there somewhere. And we're near to the end of the book.
Oh, I know.
We're not at the beginning of the book. Which is exciting. Because if the Lord comes, we're out of here with him. And whatever he does with this old earth, either he changes it, makes it new, and he's putting us somewhere new, that'll be fine for us. He says he'll make a new heaven, a new earth. And he's going to make a new city called the New Jerusalem. And all the people that followed the Lord will be put into this new city. And it'll be a city like no other city. Nothing that we've ever built on earth before. Because God will have made it. But the folk that haven't believed, and folk that have denied God, and folk that have thought they were no God, and folk that have thought, well, I don't know whether there is or there's not. So you need to trust the Lord, Paul. Really need to trust God. And especially now when things are all changing. Because if the Lord blows that trumpet and you don't know him, you'll not be going with him unless you know him. He says one day they'll blow a trumpet and all of those people that know God will be taken out, snatched straight out the earth like that. And the people that are left on the earth will not have a clue what's happened. Because millions of folk will just be going like that. You know, probably they think we've all been abducted with aliens, because that's the story that's going around, so that's going to cover it all, you know.
Mm.
But it won't be. It'll be the Lord's raptured his church away. Because there's going to be really bad stuff coming on the earth. And so I think the Lord will take all these people away before the really bad stuff.
Where do you think they'll end up?
Eh?
Where do you think they'll end up?
Who?
When they get raptured away?
The Lord will take us to be with him somewhere. Don't care where it'll be. It'll be wherever he is.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's making this New Jerusalem once the end is this thing with the end of the earth. And the end of everything's came to an end. The battle with Satan at the end.
Yeah.
That's the Armageddon. Really, Armageddon's a battle with Satan and God. But men are involved. That's what Armageddon's about. It says at the end of the Bible, Satan has always been ruling on the earth. This is why there's been so much. Man's got corruption in him anyway, but Satan's there too.
Yeah.
So Satan has corrupted men even more. He's lured men to do things. So we've got our own corruption plus what Satan has brought in. But God has got to deal with Satan at the end. So there's the big battle of Armageddon. What happens is he brings armies from the north, could be Russia, any armies that join them. And there's army in Israel, I think. But really the battle it's with men on the earth, but it's also between God and Satan.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big battle, but God wins the battle. And Satan's defeated. And Satan's chained, he's taken and thrown into the lake of fire. And that will be the very end. But the church, we want to be away before all this happens, because it talks about